It isn't easy being a high school dropout and becoming one of the biggest billionaires in the world. But this guy made it happen anyway. This is Francois Pinault. Legend has it that when he was very young, he used to carry food to Allied airmen hidden near the family home during the occupation of France. Returning home one day, a German patrol grabbed little Francois and ruthlessly beat his father to make one of them confess. Neither did. Apparently, Francois never even blinked. At the age of 7, the boy was already cultivating the determination, recklessness, and contempt for authority that would eventually make him France's richest man and most successful corporate raider. Francois was born on August 21st in 1936 on Côte d'Armor, a relatively modest area of Brittany. He was born into a family of small-time timber traders. After leaving school at the age of 16 without a qualification to his name, he joined the family firm to make ends meet. He worked there for over a decade until the time finally came for him to step out on his own. To start his first business, a 27-year-old Francois borrowed 100,000 francs from his family in Credit Lyonnais in 1962. The business was a small timber company called L'Établissement François Pinault. Things were going moderately well, and within a decade, Francois had set his eyes on expansion. He began buying up various small, undervalued firms, and in the process, he built a thriving business of his own. As time went on, Francois' acquisition endeavors escalated. The French government was seeking to preserve jobs by heavily subsidizing entrepreneurs to buy up companies that were on the verge of bankruptcy. And a lucky Francois was able to acquire failing companies at fire sale prices, sometimes paying as little as 1 franc. For the next few years, Francois bought up numerous companies and then used government aid to turn them around and sell them at a profit. And through this, the savvy businessman gradually amassed a massive fortune. But would things continue to go on as smooth sailing? Francois' ruthlessness in turning companies around soon became apparent. In 1986, he bought France's leading plywood manufacturer, Isoroy, and in just 2 months, he drastically reduced the head office staff numbers from 700 to 25. While he had been firmly cemented in the timber business when he set out, over time, Francois' targets began to look different, and lumber manufacturers became construction materials providers and paper suppliers. Then, in the early 1900s, more change came when Francois acquired the French department store chain Au Printemps, and the Pinault Printemps Group was formed. 2 years later, following the merger of La Redoute, the group was renamed again. This time they went for Pinault Printemps Redoute, or PPR. By now, Francois was a multi-billionaire, and his company was clearly set on a path of becoming one of the largest luxury goods groups in the world. Of course, nobody gets to sit on top of billions of dollars in a single generation without being very, very good at what they're doing. And one thing you need to know about Francois is that he is really good at making money. He's so good, it's almost frightening, said an analyst at the French bank. He has a sixth sense for opportunities. He times his bids and sell-offs to perfection. He has no compassion when it comes to the bottom line, and he fears no one. But little did Francois know, a fierce battle was on its way. After having acquired numerous companies with ease, it was now time for Francois to meet a worthy opponent, Bernard Arnault of LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. It was the year 1999. LVMH was already the world's luxury goods market leader, and Bernard wanted to add once grand Italian brand to his ample luxury portfolio. Gucci wasn't interested, however. And after Bernard launched a hostile takeover, they desperately turned to Francois as a somewhat improbable white knight. At the time, Francois was looking for a ticket out of Western Europe, where his lackluster retail and industrial holdings were concentrated, so he decided to help out and was now locked in battle with Bernard for control of Gucci. By the time the legal fight was over, Francois staggered from the ring, debt-ridden but victorious. The two men had entered history as the Ali Frazier of fashion, and they are still remembered that way today. Francois had acquired a 42% stake in Gucci Group for $2.9 billion, and the purchase kickstarted PPR's reign as a luxury powerhouse. From here on, there was no more looking back, and Francois bought up several other luxurious fashion houses, such as Yves Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, and Bottega Veneta. PPR had come a long way from its timber trading days, and it was clearly set on the glamorous path to luxury goods. But as Francois would soon learn, not everything he touches turns to gold. Francois founded l'Établissement François Pinault in 1962, a month after his son, François-Henri, was born. After graduating from HEC Business School in Paris, young François-Henri did his military service at an economic posting with the French consulate in LA. He loved California and wanted to stay longer, but his father's empire was calling. So in 1987, a 25-year-old François-Henri flew home to start working in the lower rungs of his father's company. Fast forward to the year 1999, and Francois had just transformed PPR into a multi-brand luxury goods group through the acquisition of Gucci. 4 years later, however, and with several of his new luxury brands ailing badly, Francois knew it was time for a drastic change. At the time, François-Henri had spent most of his career in the muddier outposts of his father's empire, and nobody really knew who he was. Nevertheless, Francois invited his son to dinner and told him that he had decided to step down and that he would be taking over, effective immediately. And just like that, the younger Pinault was appointed chair and CEO of the company. Monday morning comes and I go into my office and I say, "What's going on here?" François-Henri recalled. "They say, you're the boss, so you should go to the boss's office." Apparently, Pinault Sr. had come to work early and had moved out of his office and into his son's. It was funny and dramatic and surreal. I never expected it to happen so fast. I was still only 40 years old and my father was 66 and in great shape, full of plans for PPR, but he had seen too many omnipotent fathers and what they did. Being handed the keys to his father's business empire was a pivotal moment for François-Henri's career, but he was handed the keys to an uncertain kingdom. The company François-Henri inherited was lopsided and struggling. Gucci, led by the flamboyant duo of Tom Ford and Domenico De Sole, had slowed, and the other brands that had been bought to complement it were losing money badly. Tasked with transforming the failing company into the apex of fashion, François-Henri got to work. And for the next decades, he turned his father's empire upside down through a series of controversial hirings, firings, and acquisitions. He quickly ditched the wood trading and electrical distribution businesses and sold off most of the retail operations. By doing so, François-Henri was able to venture further into luxury goods. But it wasn't easy. The pressure was constantly on, and he basically had to bend over backwards to prove he was worthy of taking over. The ambitious transformation also saw the unveiling of a new name and logo. PPR became Kering, and an owl became its icon, symbolizing wisdom, change, and knowledge. The changes marked the start of François-Henri's footprint in the world, but then a hard decision had to be made. With the renewal of Tom Ford and Domenico De Sole's contracts due in 2004, François-Henri controversially cut them loose. At the time, Tom Ford held the entire fashion world in thrall. He was a very big star, and many in the industry were convinced that Gucci would be finished without him. The decision to let Ford go was incredibly hard for François-Henri, but he analyzed where Gucci had gone off course and made sure it would never happen again. He undid everything Ford had put in place and decided that from then on, all brands would be run separately and no designer would ever be bigger than the brand again. Today, François-Henri is on the cusp of unparalleled success. His multi-billion-dollar empire has an annual revenue of over $13 billion, and the company has grown to become a major global luxury group with an extraordinary portfolio that includes brands like Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, Gucci, Bottega Veneta, and Alexander McQueen, to name just a few. Computer programmer, pharmaceutical equipment salesman, military serviceman, Salma Hayek's husband, and father of 4 are some of the diverse hats François-Henri has worn. And his plans for the future remain as ambitious as ever. He is dedicated to leading not only Kering, but also other companies, including his competitors, to a greener and more renewable future. And with the fashion industry being the second largest consumer of the world's water supply, there is definitely a lot of room for improvement. It makes no sense to pit purpose against profit, he said in 2019. There is plenty of evidence to show that sustainable companies enjoy better performances, and sustainability is a business opportunity. But as powerful as François-Henri has become, the first person the Pinault name calls to mind is still his father. Even François-Henri's now wife, Salma Hayek, made that mistake before their first date in 2006. When Mima Viglesio, a former Gucci executive, called Salma up to try and arrange a date for the two of them, Salma's response was, "What do you mean? I'm not going out with some 70-year-old guy." In Salma's defense, it's an easy enough mistake to make, and luckily for them, the misunderstanding was eventually cleared up. Had you already heard of the Kering brand and its interesting history? Share it in the comments. And if you'd like to get inspired by even more unusual business stories, then make sure to take a look at our channel.